Hello everyone and welcome back to another video of short reviews, and this time is for July 2019. These are all the albums from the previous month that I didn't feel like I had that many things to say in order to make a full review out of them, and all of these albums are just placed in this video telling a few things about them because some of these albums are at least worth mentioning and some of them might be to your liking. Albums in this list go from 6 plus to 4 minus. There are some of them that I like, others that I don't, but you know the drill if you have seen this series already. So without further ado, let's get into these albums. I really appreciate the direction Puya took with his new album, but this whole sound of southern hip hop with some more old school and chill elements doesn't really fit his sound all that much. Still, there are a few moments towards the end of this thing that are like cloud rap bangers, but this makes it an even more messy release because the placement of these songs doesn't necessarily fit all that well. Other than that, I like some of the elements to the sound of this thing, and also with all that, I don't think the sounds on this thing are something all that special. The production, the singing from Puya, there's not something really all that special about this album. And there are a few good moments here and there, but nothing that would really make me go back to this again. I'm just going to give it a 5 out of 10. Entrails Tsunami is possibly the most aggressive and the most straightforward thing Jig-Ai have done so far in their discography. The album has some really nice moments to it, but I don't think that this album, riff-wise and structure-wise, manages to get to the same point of excellence with the very first two albums, the Jig-Ai, the self-titled one, and Katana Orgy, which in my opinion had this nasty and disturbing feel to them that Entrails Tsunami does not have in that much to an extent, or I don't think that the structure or some of the songs are all that memorable. However, this is definitely their best album in terms of production, and the drums on this thing are really tight. We're still talking about one of the better grindcore releases of this year. So yeah, this is a 6 plus out of 10 for me. It's a recommendation if you're looking for a new grindcore release. A nice set of chill vaporwave ambient tracks from 2814, one of the more well-known and more highly appreciated names in this whole vaporwave aesthetic and scene. And it's not a bad album. There are some good moments to it, though in my opinion it drags for way too long and it might get a bit boring after a while, but it's still a solid release. It's just not as memorable. I'm just going to give this a 6 out of 10. While I do get the hype for Drab Majesty, I think he has done and has developed a really nice and intriguing sound for dark wave and post-punk music that goes a bit more to the old school side of things. There is a heavy 80s vibe, but so far I haven't found an album from him that would really impress me, and Modern Mirror is not that much of an exception. While the album starts strong, I like the introduction to it with the song A Dialogue. I think it's a really interesting and more experimental track, and I think that Long Division is actually one of the better songs Drab Majesty have done. Other than that though, this is still an album where the sounds are a bit basic and I don't get that much from them, but it's still another decent release. It just doesn't manage to get into a higher level than that, something that would make me come back to it. It's just a bit forgettable, especially with the last track out of sequence that goes for almost 8 minutes long, and it drags for longer than what it should in my opinion. And there are some other moments throughout the middle portion of this album that I wasn't really feeling it all that much. Really nice album cover though. Other than that, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. It has been exactly 1 month and Filmmaker did a brand new album, and this has the problem that I have with Filmmaker now, that he just constantly releases a ton of material, and with this very short project going for 32 minutes, he doesn't manage to develop his sound in any way. While I do like some of the first tracks, as the album progresses, I was like, this feels really rushed, and definitely not one of the better releases he could have done. While, like I said, some of the first tracks really solid, really good, Filmmaker still has some decent ideas to it, but I think he needs to take his time and actually develop and create something more well crafted, because the thing with this album is that it sounds extremely repetitive. Pretty much every single track has little to no progression to it. It's just the same thing going for 4 or 3 minutes with very little in terms of just a change up or a build up to something. It's really straight to the point, it's simplistic at parts, and in a sense it hurts, even though you can find some great melodies to it. But yeah, this is just a 6 out of 10. Compared to his previous release, this one was a bit underwhelming. I was looking forward to what YB and Cortez could do, because when I discovered him and saw his performances on XXL Freshman, I definitely thought he was one of the more refreshing figures in the scene, and I liked his flows, his rapping style, and I was hoping that he could actually deliver something good. Which, in a way, yeah, I think his bars, his delivery, it's not that bad, it's a decent debut, but in terms of production and music, it's really basic at some points. I like that it goes to directions like conscious hip hop with jazz rap, but the instrumentals most of the time are so bland and there are so many basic trap beats. And if it wasn't for the last 2 awful tracks, this album could have been even better. But it just ends up being a 6 minus out of 10 for me. I like how Rich Brian has developed his sound over the years. Who would have thought that the guy who would do that stick would actually go to make Yellow? First of all, I want to say that I really like the teaser tracks on this thing. I think Yellow and Kids are 2 really good songs that set the tone for the album, that set the tone for a different direction that Rich Brian decides to go with this album. And I also like the song Confetti. In my opinion, Confetti is one of the best things Rich Brian has ever done. I really like this song. The thing that drags this thing back a little bit is that at times it gets really messy. I like how it goes to a lot of different styles and variations, having a sound of pop rap and R&B that at times it could be a bit more reminiscent of something that Joji would do now, and also I think the sampling with some jazz and classical elements are really well executed. But other than that, as an entire project, it doesn't feel all that fulfilling. There are moments, especially on the second half of this thing, that drag it a little bit down. They don't feel as well executed. At some points it's like it's missing the mark of what it tries to do and what it tries to represent. But for what it is, like I said, I like how Rich Brian has developed his sound, and I'm looking forward to something more. I just still think we haven't got Rich Brian at his full potential at releasing something even better, though this is still another good album from him, and I'm just gonna give it a 6 plus out of 10. I did not care for this album at all. Extremely short tracks, almost every single track on this thing feels incomplete, with so many repetitive moments, repetitive flows, really basic and unimaginative production, and it just fills me with a really underwhelming album. It's so by the numbers, it's so just forgettable. A 4 minus out of 10 for me. I truly get the hype behind this album. It's another sort of bubblegum bass and electropop release from this new wave and era of artists. And in my opinion, it's pretty decent if you're looking for something really futuristic, to the sound of recent Charlie XX or even some 100 Keks. this one might be to your liking, but for me it still doesn't make for something really all that refreshing. If you're looking for a very nice electropop and bubblegum release, I highly suggest you the new Nico EP that is from this month as well. Flamboyant is a silly and catchy album, sometimes cute, other times at some tracks it feels a bit obscure and experimental, but nothing all that much to it, and I think that the auto-tune at some parts it's a bit annoying. I don't really feel the vocals or some of the instrumentals of this thing, and despite being just really short in length, being 31 minutes long, it was still a bit forgettable, so I'm just gonna give it a 6 minus out of 10. And that's all the albums I had to mention from July 2019. What's your opinion on these albums? Like them, dislike them, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.